Captain Dan Murphy stood in the arena, looking across at his final opponent. Flux, the Zephyrian champion, was unlike any creature he had ever seen. Her body seemed to flow like liquid, constantly changing shape and color. One moment she looked almost human. The next moment she had extra arms or wings or armor-like skin. "This is the final trial," the alien referee announced. "Victory in this combat will determine the outcome of all trials. The winner's species will be declared superior." The arena had been set up with multiple environments. One section was filled with water, another with thick jungle growth, another with rocky cliffs and caves. Each area presented different challenges and opportunities. Murphy had spent the night thinking about this fight. Flux could adapt her body to become stronger, faster, tougher, or gain new abilities. She could become whatever she needed to be, to win any fight, but Murphy had realized something important. Flux could change her body, but she still thought like a Zephyrian. She still fought like someone who had trained in schools and followed rules. She adapted her form, but not her mind. "Are you ready, human?" Flux asked. Her voice changed as she spoke, becoming deeper and more threatening. "I was born ready," Murphy said. The trial began. Flux immediately changed her form, growing larger and stronger. She charged at Murphy with arms that had become like sledgehammers. Murphy didn't try to fight her strength against strength. Instead, he ran. "The human is fleeing." Someone in the crowd shouted, but Murphy wasn't fleeing. He was moving to the water section of the arena. Flux followed him, her body adapting as she ran. By the time she reached the water, she had grown gills and webbed hands for swimming. Murphy dove into the water and swam toward the bottom. Flux followed, now perfectly, adapted for underwater combat. But when she reached him, Murphy wasn't trying to fight. He was doing something with the arena's equipment. Murphy had noticed that the water section had artificial currents and filtering systems. While Flux was adapting her body for underwater combat, Murphy was figuring out how the systems worked. He found the controls and changed the water flow. Suddenly, the currents in the water shifted dramatically. Flux, despite her adaptations, was caught off guard by the change. She was swept toward a filtration intake. Struggling against the artificial current, Murphy surfaced and climbed out of the water. Flux managed to escape from the current by changing her body again, but Murphy was already moving to the next section of the arena. "He's not fighting her," Dr. Walsh observed from the spectator area. "He's fighting the situation." In the jungle section, Flux adapted again. Her skin became bark-like for camouflage, and she grew claws for climbing. She moved through the artificial trees like a predator, hunting Murphy. But Murphy was using tactics he had learned in real jungles on Earth. He wasn't trying to hide from Flux. He was setting traps. He used vines to create snares and positioned fallen logs to create obstacles. When Flux found him, she discovered that the jungle had become a maze designed to slow her down and tire her out. "Your adaptations are impressive," Murphy called out as he led her through his makeshift obstacle course. "But adaptation is more than just changing your body." Flux grew frustrated. Every time she adapted to overcome one obstacle, Murphy created a new one. She became stronger to break through barriers, but Murphy made her waste energy breaking things that didn't need to be broken. She became faster to catch him, but Murphy used her speed against her by creating situations where being fast was dangerous. The fight moved to the rocky cliff section. Flux adapted for climbing, growing specialized hands and feet for gripping stone. Murphy climbed ahead of her, but he wasn't trying to escape. He was weakening the cliff face. Murphy had learned mountain climbing in the Rockies, where avalanches and rock slides were constant dangers. We knew how to read stone and understand which rocks were stable and which were ready to fall. As Flux climbed after him, Murphy carefully loosened keystones. When Flux was halfway up the cliff, Murphy triggered a small rock slide. Not enough to seriously hurt her, but enough to send her tumbling back to the bottom. She landed hard but immediately adapted, growing thicker skin and better padding. "She keeps adapting her body," Sergeant Carter observed. "But she's not adapting." Her strategy? Murphy climbed back down and faced Flux in the center of the arena. She had grown tired from constantly changing her form and chasing him through different environments. Her adaptations were perfect for each individual challenge, but she had been reacting to Murphy's moves instead of making her own plans. "You fight strangely, human," Flux said, breathing heavily. "You do not use your body's abilities. You change the battlefield instead." "That's what humans do," Murphy said. "We don't just adapt our bodies, we adapt everything." Flux charged at him one final time, her form shifting to become the perfect combat shape, strong, fast, armored, and deadly. Murphy stood his ground and waited. At the last second, Murphy did something that no one expected. He didn't dodge or attack. Instead, he threw his arms around Flux in what looked like a bear hug. But he wasn't trying to hurt her. He was holding on. "What is he doing?" the aliens in the crowd asked. Murphy was doing something he had learned. During survival training, when you can't overcome a force, sometimes you can redirect it. As Flux tried to break free from his grip, Murphy used her own strength and momentum to throw both of them toward a specific part of the arena. They crashed into a section where Murphy had previously weakened the floor. The impact sent them both falling through into the maintenance area below the arena. Flux landed hard and was momentarily stunned. Murphy landed on top of debris that cushioned his fall. By the time Flux recovered and adapted to the new environment, Murphy was already climbing back up to the arena floor. The trial rules stated that victory went to whoever was the last fighter standing in the arena. Murphy reached the arena floor and helped Flux climb up after him. "Good fight," he said, offering her his hand. Flux looked at him with something like wonder. "You did not try to defeat me with strength or speed or adaptation." "No," Murphy said. "I used what humans are best at, turning problems into solutions." The alien referee looked confused. The human wins, but his methods were not honorable. Combat Admiral Morrison stood up in the spectator section. "With respect, honor is a luxury that humans can't afford. We learn to fight for survival, not for glory." The leader of the Galactic Council, an ancient being called the Speaker, descended to the arena floor. All the alien champions gathered around as well. The humans stood together, tired but proud. "Have witnessed something remarkable," the Speaker said. "We sent our finest warriors, each perfect in their own way. Earth sent something different." Commander Torres joined Morrison in the arena. "Earth sent products of a world that tried to kill them every day of their lives. Your champions fought with honor and tradition," Torres continued. "Our people fought with stubbornness and creativity. They fought to survive." The Speaker nodded slowly. "You understand now. Your species does not just adapt to challenges. You transform challenges into advantages." "Every human carries the experience of living on a death world," Morrison said. "We don't train for combat. We train for survival. And survival means never giving up, no matter what." The Chronari champion Thax stepped forward. "We have learned something valuable today. Strength is not just about power. Speed is not just about movement," added Zith, the Vexus champion. "Intelligence is not just about calculation," said Corex, the Nethak champion. "Endurance is not just about resistance," said Brofin, the Gorvani champion. "And adaptation is not just about changing form," finished Flux. The Zephyrian champion, the Speaker, raised his arms to address the entire gathering. "The Galactic Council welcomes humanity as full members, but more than that, we ask that you share your knowledge with us. Teach us what it means to be survivors." As the ceremony concluded, the 5 human champions stood together. They had proven that sometimes the most dangerous opponents weren't the strongest or fastest or smartest. Sometimes the most dangerous opponents were the ones who refused to quit. Dr. Walsh spoke for all of them. They sent their best warriors. We sent humans. Turns out, on a death world, that's the same thing. Years later, military academies across the galaxy would study the Earth trials. They would learn about the death world philosophy that true strength comes not from perfection, but from the ability to adapt, survive, and keep fighting when everything tells you to give up. The humans had shown the galaxy something new. They had proven that survivors were more dangerous than warriors. And in a universe full of challenges that made them the most valuable allies anyone could have. Commander Jake Morrison stared at the screen in front of him. The signal was unlike anything he had ever seen before. It came from the edge of space, far beyond where any human ship had ever traveled. The computer could not identify what kind of technology had sent it. Lisa, come take a look at this, he called to Dr. Lisa Park, who was working at her station nearby. Lisa walked over, looked at the strange patterns dancing across the screen. She was the best scientist on the ship, and if anyone could figure out what they were seeing, it would be her. This is incredible, she said after a few minutes. The signal is using frequencies that we thought were impossible to transmit through space. Whatever sent this is far more advanced than anything we have. The ship was called the UES Horizon, and it was one of Earth's newest exploration vessels. They had been sent to map the outer regions of the galaxy, looking for new worlds that humans might be able to colonize. What they had found instead was something that would change everything. Should we report this to Earth Command? Asked Lieutenant Ben Carter, the ship's communications officer. Morrison thought about it. Earth Command had been very clear about their orders. They were supposed to map star systems and return home. They were not supposed to investigate alien signals or make contact with unknown civilizations, but this signal was different. It was a distress call, and Morrison could not ignore someone who needed help. No, he said finally. We investigate. First, if there are people out there who need our help, we have to try. The crew prepared the ship for a jump to the signal's location. The journey would take them 3 days, traveling faster than light through the strange dimensions that made space travel possible. During those 3 days, Lisa worked day and night trying to decode the signal. When they finally arrived at the coordinates, what they saw took their breath away. Space was filled with debris as far as their sensors could detect. Ships of every size and shape floated dead in the void. Some were so large they looked like cities. Others were small fighters no bigger than the Horizon shuttle bay. God, whispered Carter. What happened here? The wreckage stretched for light years in every direction. It was clear that this had been the site of a massive battle, but the scale was beyond anything humans had ever imagined. Destroyed ships, and from the look of the debris, the battle had been recent. I'm detecting life signs, said Lisa, her voice excited. There are survivors. Morrison ordered the ship to move carefully through the debris field. They found the survivors on a damaged vessel that was barely holding together. The ship was, unlike anything in human records, was built from some kind of crystal that seemed to glow with its own inner light. This is Commander Morrison of the human vessel US Horizon. He broadcast on all frequencies. You received your distress signal. Do you need assistance? Response came immediately, but it was in a language that their computers had never heard. Before, however, the universal translator that every exploration ship carried was able to provide a rough translation, human. We do not know this species. I am Ambassador Veltar of the Zephyrian Empire. We accept your help, Morrison ordered. A boarding party to be prepared. He would lead it himself, along with Lisa and 2 security officers. They put on their environmental suits and crossed to the alien vessel using their shuttle. The inside of the ship was even more beautiful than the outside. The walls were made of the same glowing crystal, and the air hummed with energy. But it was also clear that the ship was dying. Many of the crystals were cracked or dark, and the air tasted of something that might have been fear. They found Ambassador Veltar in what appeared to be the ship's command center. The alien was tall and thin, with skin that seemed to be made of the same crystal as the ship. When it spoke, its voice was like music, but there was deep sadness in its tone. You are truly human, Veltar asked, looking at them with large, multifaceted eyes. We have no record of your species in our databases. We're from Earth, Morrison said. We've been exploring space for about 50 years now. We've never encountered any other intelligent species before. Veltar made a sound that might have been surprise. 50 years, but your technology suggests centuries of development. How is this possible? Lisa stepped forward. We tend to advance quickly when we need to. Our species is good at solving problems. Under pressure. The alien seemed to consider this. You said you received our distress signal, but that signal was transmitted on frequencies that should be impossible for a species of your apparent technological level to detect. Morrison and Lisa exchanged glances. We were beginning to realize that they had stumbled into something much bigger than they had imagined. Ambassador Morrison said carefully, "What happened here? This looks like the aftermath of a major battle." Veltar's crystal skin seemed to dim. The Great Convergence War has finally ended. 300 years of fighting between the Zephyrian Empire and the Korthok Collective. We won, but at a terrible cost. This was the site of the final battle. Lisa was recording everything with her scanner. 300 years? How many species were involved? All of them, Veltar said simply. Every intelligent species in the galaxy was forced to choose sides. The Korthak believed in absolute order, in controlling evolution itself. The Zephyrians believed in methodical progress, in carefully planned advancement. The war was about which philosophy would guide galactic civilization. Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. Every species in the galaxy? But you said you'd never heard of humans. That is what troubles me, Veltar admitted. According to our records, there are no inhabited worlds in your region of space. Yet here you are, with technology that suggests independent development of faster-than-light travel. It should be impossible. Lisa was studying her scanner readings. Commander, I'm detecting something unusual in the debris field. The weapons used here were designed to target specific genetic markers. This wasn't just a war, it was genocide on a massive scale. Before anyone could respond, the ship's emergency alarms began to sound. Carter's voice crackled over the communication system. Commander, you need to get back here immediately. Something big is moving in the debris field. Something that should be dead. Morrison looked at Veltar. Ambassador, we need to return to our ship. You're welcome to come with us, as Veltar said, gathering several crystal devices. If something is stirring in this graveyard, we are all in danger. As they made their way back to the horizon, Lisa continued scanning the debris. What she found made her stomach turn. The weapons hadn't just been designed to kill. They had been designed to ensure that certain types of life could never evolve again. Back on the horizon, they watched as something massive began to emerge from the debris field. It was a ship, but it looked more like a living creature than a machine. Its hull was dark and seemed to pulse with a life of its own. That's a Korthok dreadnought, Veltar whispered. They were all supposed to be destroyed in the final battle. Well, that one wasn't, Morrison said grimly. And it's heading straight for us. The ship that approached them was enormous, easily 10 times the size of the horizon. As it drew closer, they could see that parts of its hull were still damaged from the battle, but other sections appeared to be healing themselves. Commander, Lisa said, her voice tight with concern, I'm detecting massive energy buildup in that ship. Whatever's on board, it's powering up weapons systems. Morrison looked at the approaching dreadnought, then at Veltar, who seemed frozen with terror. Well, he said to his crew, I guess we're about to find out what we're really made of. War might have been over, but as the alien ship closed in on them, Morrison realized that humanity's involvement was just beginning, and from the look of things, it was going to be anything but peaceful. The Korthok dreadnought stopped just outside weapon range. Its dark hull pulsed with strange lights, and Morrison could feel the hair on his arms standing up from the energy it was giving off. They're scanning us, Lisa reported from her station. The scan is unlike anything I've ever seen. It's not just looking at our ship, it's examining our DNA. Veltar moved closer to the main screen. The crystal alien was shaking, and Morrison could see fear in those large eyes. They should all be dead, Veltar whispered. We destroyed their last command ship. The Queen Mind was supposed to be eliminated. Queen Mind? Morrison asked. The Korthok are a collective species, Veltar explained. They share one consciousness across millions of bodies.
The Queen Mind controls them all.
Without her, they cannot function. The communication system crackled to life. When the voice came through, it was unlike anything Morrison had ever heard. It sounded like thousands of voices speaking at once, all perfectly synchronized. We are the Korthok. We are eternal. We are order. The voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. What species dares to approach our sacred battlefield? Morrison stepped forward. This is Commander Jake Morrison of the human species. We received a distress signal and came to offer help. There was a long pause. Then the voice returned, but this time it sounded different, surprised. Human, this designation does not exist in our records. Show yourselves. Morrison looked at Lisa. And Veltar, I don't think we have much choice. He activated the ship's external cameras and transmitted their image to the Korthok vessel. The response was immediate and violent. The dreadnought's weapons powered up, and Morrison felt his ship shake as warning shots fired past them. Impossible. The collective voice screamed, "You are chaos. You are everything we have fought to eliminate," Commander Carter said from his station. "I'm detecting more ships approaching. Human ships." Morrison felt relief wash over him. "Earth Command?" "No, sir. It's Captain Ben Carter's battle group. They must have followed our signal." Morrison frowned. Carter was his older brother, and one of Earth's most experienced military commanders. If Ben was here, it meant Earth Command had decided this situation was too dangerous to ignore. 5 human ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and took positions around the horizon. The largest ship was the UES Freedom, Captain Ben Carter's flagship. Morrison had never been happier to see his brother's ship. "Jake," came Ben's voice over the communication system. "What have you gotten yourself into this time?" "His first contact with 2 alien civilizations that have been at war for 300 years, Morrison replied. "The usual." Ben's laugh was cut short as the Korthok dreadnought turned toward the new arrivals. "Jake, that thing is the size of a small moon. Please tell me it's friendly." "Not exactly," Morrison said. "Ben, I need you to hear this. Veltar, can you explain what the war was about?" The crystal alien stepped forward. Korthok believed that evolution should follow specific patterns, eliminate any species that develops in ways they consider chaotic or unpredictable. The Zephyrians believe in methodical progress, careful advancement over thousands of years. "And humans?" Ben asked. "According to both philosophies," Veltar said quietly, "humans should not exist. Your technological advancement is too rapid, too unpredictable. You have achieved in decades what most species take centuries to accomplish." Korthok Queen Mind's voice filled the communication channels again. "The Chaos Spawn speaks truth. Humans are an abomination. You have developed faster-than-light travel without following the proper evolutionary steps. You have created artificial intelligence without first achieving biological perfection. You are everything we have spent millennia trying to prevent." Ben's voice was calm but firm. "And what exactly do you plan to do about it?" "You will be corrected," the Queen Mind replied. "Your genetic structure will be reorganized. Your chaotic development will be stopped. You will join the Order, or you will cease to exist." Morrison looked at his crew. Lisa was recording everything, her scientific mind fascinated despite the danger. Carter was tracking the movement of more ships in the debris field. Other Korthok vessels were beginning to stir. "There's something else," Lisa said suddenly. "Commander, I've been analyzing the debris field. Weapons used in this war were specifically designed to target genetic markers. But there's something strange about the pattern." She brought up a holographic display showing the battle site. Different colored dots marked the locations of destroyed ships. The Korthok and Zephyrian forces were arranged in a specific pattern. She continued, "It's almost like they were following rules. Formal rules of engagement." Veltar moved closer to the display. "Of course, the Great Convergence War was fought according to ancient protocols. Both sides agreed to certain limitations to prevent the complete destruction of galactic civilization. But that's not what I'm seeing," Lisa said. "According to my analysis, both sides were holding back. They could have destroyed each other completely, but they chose not to." Morrison felt a chill. They were fighting a limited war. "Why?" "Because," came a new voice. They were waiting. Another ship appeared on their sensors, this one even larger than the Korthok dreadnought. It was sleek and silver, covered in geometric patterns that seemed to shift and change as they watched. "I'm Admiral Keshin of the Zephyrian 4th Fleet," the new voice announced. "We have been monitoring this conversation." The Korthok Queen Mind's voice turned angry. "The war is over, Crystal Dweller. You have lost. Submit to integration." "The war is over," Admiral Keshin agreed, "but not in the way either of us expected. The arrival of the humans changes everything." Morrison looked at his brother's image. On the screen, Ben's expression was grim. "Changes how?" Morrison asked. "For 300 years, Keshin explained, we have been fighting over which philosophy should guide galactic civilization. Order versus progress. Control versus freedom. But we have been asking the wrong question. What should we have been asking? Ben said. We should have been asking what happens when a species develops outside both philosophies, Keshian replied. Humans represent something neither the Korthok nor the Zephyrians prepared for. You are proof that our war was pointless.
Oh.
The Queen mines. The voice was filled with rage. Lies. The humans are chaos. They must be eliminated. The humans, Keshian said calmly, are the answer to a question neither of us thought to ask. What if there is a third way? Lisa was studying her scanners again. Commander, I'm detecting massive energy buildups from both alien ships. I think they're preparing to fight each other again. Morrison looked at the tactical display. More ships were appearing from both sides. What had started as a simple rescue mission was turning into the restart of a galactic war. Ben, he said to his brother, I think we need to get out of here. 2. Late for that, Ben replied. Jake, according to our long-range sensors, both sides are mobilizing their entire fleets. Every ship that survived the war is heading this way. Why? Morrison asked. Veltar answered, its crystal skin now glowing with agitation, as the appearance of humans has invalidated the treaty that ended the war. If there is a third way of development, then neither side truly won. The war must be fought again. Less Admiral Keshian said, the humans choose a side. Choose. Morrison looked at his crew, then at his brother's ships. What do you mean choose? Must decide. The Queen Mind said. Join the Order and accept genetic restructuring or face elimination. Or, Admiral Keshian added, accept Zephyrian guidance and allow us to help you develop properly over the next few centuries. Morrison felt the weight of the decision, not just for his crew, not just for the human ships present, but for all of humanity. 2 alien civilizations, each more advanced than Earth, were asking humans to choose between order and progress. If we choose neither, he asked. The silence that followed was deafening. Even the energy readings from both alien ships seemed to pause. Finally, Admiral Keshian spoke. That is not possible. There are only 2 paths for intelligent life, are there? Morrison asked. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like both paths led to 300 years of war. He looked at his crew, at his brothers concerned. Face on the screen, at the alien ships preparing for battle around them. Maybe, he said, it's time someone tried a different approach. The war was about to begin again, but this time, humanity would not be choosing sides. They would be creating their own path, and neither the Korthok nor the Zephyrians were prepared for what that might mean. The 24 hours turned into the most intense day of Morrison's life. While both alien fleets watched and waited, human ships scattered across the galaxy to contact the hidden species that Amy had discovered. Morrison took the horizon to a nebula where the Trelawney were supposed to be hiding. Lisa's sensors had detected unusual energy patterns deep within the gas clouds, patterns that suggested artificial structures. There, Lisa said, pointing at her scanner. Something big is moving in the nebula. It's alive. What emerged from the colorful gases was unlike anything Morrison had ever imagined. The ship looked like it was grown rather than built, with smooth curves and surfaces that seemed to pulse with life. It was beautiful and strange at the same time. Unknown vessel. Came a voice that sounded like wind chimes. You have entered sacred space. State your purpose. This is Commander Jake Morrison of the human species, he replied. We come seeking help and offering friendship. Human? The voice seemed surprised. We have no knowledge of your kind, yet your ship carries the energy signatures of great sadness and great hope mixed together. How curious. Morrison realized they were dealing with the empathic abilities Amy had mentioned. We are caught between 2 alien civilizations that want to control or destroy us. We believe there is another way. Show us, the voice said simply. Morrison transmitted the recordings of their encounters with the Korthok and Zephyrians, included everything: the destruction from the war, the philosophical differences, and humanity's proposal for cooperation. The Trelawney ship moved closer. Your species feels pain for others, the voice said with wonder. Even for those who threaten you. This is most unusual among the start-traveling peoples. Will you help us? Morrison asked. "We will come," the voice replied. It has been too long since hope had a voice in the galaxy. Meanwhile, Ben Carter was making contact with a Makari in a system near the galactic rim. These beings lived in crystal formations that existed partially in normal space and partially in subspace, making them nearly impossible to detect. "Humans," one of the Makari said, its voice echoing strangely across dimensions. "We have watched your species from afar. You move through space-time in ways that should not be possible for such young travelers." Ben didn't pretend to understand the science. "We do what works," he said honestly. "We learn by trying, even if we don't always understand why something works." "Fascinating," the Makari replied. "The rigid ones and the controlling ones believe there is only one path to knowledge. But you discover many paths without fear of being wrong. Sometimes being wrong teaches us more than being right," Ben said. "This wisdom is old but forgotten by most," the Makari said. "We will join your gathering. Perhaps it is time for the galaxy to remember." Amy Rodriguez was having the most difficult conversation. She had found the Ythrock in a distant nebula, but communicating with beings made of gas and energy was challenging. "The small solid ones speak of cooperation," the Ythrock said, their voice like the sound of solar winds. "But the galaxy has known only competition for eons." "Competition doesn't have to mean destruction," Amy argued. "Different species can compete to see who can solve problems better, can create more beautiful art, who can help others more effectively." "The energy wasters and the crystal singers fought to decide who would rule," the Ythrock pointed out. "What makes you think this will be different?" "'Cause we're not trying to rule anyone," Amy said. "We're trying to prove that nobody needs to rule the galaxy, that it can rule itself through cooperation." There was a long pause. Energy swirled. In the nebula, as the Ythrock considered, "This concept is so strange it might actually work," they said finally. "We'll come to see this impossible thing you propose." Back at the original meeting point, tensions were rising. More Korthok and Zephyrian ships had arrived, and both fleets were getting restless. "The Chaos Spawn are gathering an army," the Queen Mind announced. "This proves their dangerous nature." Admiral Keshin was studying the approaching ships. "These vessels do not match any known configurations. Why did the humans find such allies?" "They were always here," Veltar said quietly. The crystal alien had become Morrison's unofficial ambassador, hidden in the spaces between your territories, waiting for the war to end. As the first of the hidden species arrived, both alien fleets prepared for battle. The Trelawney ship's organic curve seemed to offend the Korthok, while its unpredictable design worried the Zephyrians. "All ships, this is Commander Morrison," he broadcast as more vessels appeared. "Remember, we're here to demonstrate cooperation, not to fight." The Mokari ship materialized next, its crystal structure shifting between dimensions in a way that made both alien fleet sensors scream warnings. Then came the Ythrock, not in ships, but as organized clouds of energy that moved with purpose through space. "Impossible," Admiral Keshin whispered. "How many species have been hiding from us?" More ships arrived. The Nethik, who had learned to live in the space between stars. The Vorlani, whose technology was based on controlled gravity. The Quesh, who had developed computers using living coral. Each species brought something unique. Each had survived by finding a different solution to the problems of space travel and survival. None of them fit into either the Korthok or Zephyrian view of proper development. "This is chaos," the Queen Mind declared. "So many different approaches to technology and society. It violates all principles of order." "This is inefficient," Admiral Keshin agreed. "How can progress be made when everyone is developing in different directions?" Morrison activated his communication system. "Let me show you." He'd been coordinating with all the new arrivals during their journey. "Everyone, please demonstrate your capabilities." What happened next was like a symphony of technology. Trelawney reached out with their empathic abilities and connected the minds of willing volunteers from every species present. Suddenly, humans could feel what the crystal Zephyrians felt, and the Korthok could experience the joy of the energy-based ETHRAK. The Mokari opened pathways through subspace, allowing instant communication across vast distances. The Vorlani created gravity fields that could move entire fleets safely through dangerous regions. The living ships of the Trelawney began healing damaged vessels from the old war in minutes. The scattered collection of different ships had become something greater than the sum of its parts. Technologies that had never been designed to work together were combining in ways that created entirely new possibilities. By the collective, the Queen Mind whispered, the efficiency levels are beyond our calculations. The advancement rate is impossible, Admiral Keshen added, his voice filled with wonder. But not everyone was impressed. Hardline factions in both fleets saw the demonstration as a threat to everything they believed. The chaos must be stopped, announced Sub-Queen Zixra, commander of the most conservative Korthok faction. This proves that diversity leads to uncontrollable change. The humans are destabilizing everything, declared War Architect Thelmus from the Zephyrian Radical Wing. They must be eliminated before they corrupt galactic civilization. Both extremist factions broke away from their main fleets and began charging weapons. The beautiful demonstration of cooperation was about to become a battlefield. All ships, defensive positions, Morrison ordered. Protect the hidden species. They came here in good faith. The moderate Korthok and Zephyrian commanders tried to stop their extremists, but it was too late. Energy beams and bioweapons filled space as the hardliners attacked, but something unexpected happened. Instead of scattering or fleeing, the coalition of diverse species began working together to defend themselves. Trelawney healing technology kept damaged ships fighting. Makari phase shifting made enemy weapons miss their targets. Rick energy manipulation turned enemy fire back on itself. The humans found themselves at the center of something amazing. They weren't just being protected, they were being included in a defense system that no single species could have created. Morrison watched in awe as cooperation proved stronger than any individual military force. But he also realized that this was just the beginning. The real test would be what happened after the battle ended. 1 year later, Morrison stood on the observation deck of Nexus Prime, the ancient galactic capital that had been destroyed in the war. Now it was being rebuilt, but not by any single species. Humans worked alongside Korthok drones while Zephyrian engineers collaborated with Trelawney healers. The crystal structures rose again, but this time they incorporated technologies from dozens of different civilizations. It's beautiful, said Lisa, joining him at the massive window. She had been promoted to head of the new Interspecies Science Council, coordinating research projects between civilizations that had never shared knowledge before. Morrison nodded. The station was more than just rebuilt. It was transformed. Where? The old Nexus Prime had been a monument to single-minded authority. This new version celebrated diversity. Gardens designed by the Trelawney grew alongside Zephyrian crystal formations. Korthok biotechnology merged seamlessly with human engineering. Energy patterns from the Yithrok flowed through living coral computers created by the Quesh. Any word from Earth? Lisa asked. Morrison smiled. Captain Carter says the first diplomatic mission from the Galactic Cooperative arrived yesterday. 300 ambassadors from different species, all wanting to learn about human culture. I bet that's keeping Ben busy, Lisa laughed. The past year had been challenging, but incredible. The Galactic Cooperative that had started as a desperate proposal, during a crisis had grown into something none of them had imagined possible. Over 200 species had joined, each contributing their unique knowledge and abilities. The Korthok had proven that their understanding of biological systems could heal ecosystems damaged by centuries of war. The Zephyrians had shown how. Their methodical approach to technology could prevent the accidents that often came with rapid development. The hidden species brought solutions to problems that the major civilizations had never even recognized. Dr. Rodriguez asked me to remind you about the ceremony tomorrow, Lisa said. Morrison had almost forgotten. Signing of the Cooperative Charter, the document that would formally establish the new galactic government. It had taken months of negotiation, with every species insisting on protections for their way of life. The solution had been typically human. Instead of trying to create rules that everyone had to follow, they created a framework that allowed each species to govern themselves while working together on shared projects. The Korthok could maintain their collective society. The Zephyrians could continue their careful technological advancement. And the smaller species could develop in whatever way suited them best. "Commander Morrison," came a familiar musical voice. Morrison turned to see Ambassador Veltar approaching, but the crystal alien looked different now. Ambassador Morrison replied warmly, "How are the new living quarters working out?" "Perfectly," Veltar said. "The Trilani bioarchitects understood our needs better than I expected, and the human engineers found ways to integrate our crystal technology with their power systems that I would never have thought possible." Morrison looked out at the bustling activity around the station. Ships from dozens of different civilizations came and went, carrying goods, knowledge, and people between worlds that had been isolated for centuries. "Any problems?" he asked. Veltar made a sound that Morrison had learned was the Zephyrian equivalent of laughter. "The usual ones. The Mokari keep phasing through walls they're supposed to use doors in. And the humans keep trying to fix things that aren't broken." "Some things never change," Morrison said. "And some things change completely," Veltar replied, looking serious. "Received word from the Outer Rim this morning. 3 more hidden civilizations have asked to join the cooperative. Species we never knew existed are coming out of hiding because they finally feel safe." Even now, a year later, they were still discovering how big and diverse the galaxy really was. Every month brought new species with new ideas and new technologies. "There's something else," Veltar continued. "The exploration teams have found evidence of other galaxies with intelligent life. The Mokari believe their phase technology could eventually allow travel between galaxies." "One galaxy at a time," Morrison said, though he couldn't hide his excitement. "Actually, we're doing better than anyone expected," came a new voice. Amy Rodriguez walked up to join them, carrying a datapad filled with reports. "The healing projects in the former war zones are ahead of schedule," she reported. "The Trilani emotional therapy, combined with Zephyrian reconstruction technology, is rebuilding entire star systems faster than we thought possible." "What about the research initiatives?" Lisa asked. "Even better," Amy said with excitement. "The joint technology projects are producing breakthroughs every week. The biocrystal computers we developed with the Korthok and Zephyrians are solving mathematical problems that used to take years. And the Yithrak energy research is showing us how to power entire civilizations without damaging their environments." Morrison felt proud of what they had accomplished, but also humbled by how much they still had to learn. "Any major problems?" Amy's expression became more serious. "A few. There are still some hardliner groups on both sides who think the cooperative is a mistake, not violent anymore, but they're trying to convince their people to withdraw." "What's their main argument?" Morrison asked. "They claim that diversity is making everything too complicated," Amy explained. "They say it was easier when there were clear rules and everyone knew their place." Veltar's skin dimmed slightly. "Change is always difficult, even when it's good change. There are Zephyrians who miss the certainty of having all decisions made by the Council of Architects. But most of them are adapting well. They're excited about being able to explore new ideas without having to get approval from central authority. Some of them are having more fun than they've had in centuries." Morrison looked out at the station again. In the distance, he could see a group of young beings from different species playing together in the central park. "That's our real success," he said, pointing at the children. "The next generation won't even remember when the galaxy was divided. It's about promising those children that we'll keep working together, no matter how difficult it gets." Morrison nodded. The ceremony would be broadcast to every world in the cooperative, watched by billions of beings who had never imagined they could live in peace with their former enemies. "Are you nervous about the speech?" Lisa asked. Morrison laughed, terrified. "Do you know how many species will be listening?" "What are you going to tell them?" "We just asked a question that nobody else thought to ask." "What question was that?" Amy said, though she already knew the answer. Morrison smiled. "What if we all worked together instead of trying to control each other?" As if summoned by their conversation, Ben Carter's voice came over the communication system. "Jake, you're needed in the main conference room. The final representatives just arrived from the far rim, and they want to meet the human who convinced the galaxy to stop fighting." Morrison groaned. More meetings. Every species we meet, every problem we solve together, every friendship we build makes the galaxy a little bit better. Morrison looked at his friends, a human scientist, a crystal alien ambassador, and a sociologist who had helped reshape galactic civilization. He said as they walked toward the conference room. What? They asked together. We're just getting started. Through the station's windows, the stars shone brighter than they had in centuries. The war was over, and the galaxy was finally learning what peace really meant. Not the absence of conflict, but the presence of cooperation. Not the silence of defeat, but the music of many voices working together. Tomorrow would mark the official beginning of the Galactic Cooperative. But Morrison knew that the real beginning had been much simpler the moment when someone decided to answer a distress call from a stranger who needed help. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders still to be discovered, and for the first time in centuries they would discover them together.